Tonight, we cover the biggest Forex gainers and losers. BSV completes its halving event. The Cash App is set to distribute Trump bucks for stimulus payouts here in the United States. And Visa shoulders into the crypto space with more partnerships, as well as your Breaking Bitcoin market analysis. Stay tuned for Breaking Bitcoin.
I'm Samson Mo from Blockstream, and you're watching Breaking Bitcoin.
Welcome back to Breaking Bitcoin. We are live every evening at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is your evening source for everything markets and finance. I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at Cracking Cryptocurrency. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today. If you are looking to develop a verifiable systems approach to your trading strategy, join our community. Take advantage of our signals and trade setups, premium indicator suite, pathways to profit strategy building course, community mentoring, and much, much more. Sign up today for the premium trading group at premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. That's premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. We've got so much to talk about tonight. In the realm of Forex, the Australian dollar went flat today, all right? It's coming off a big week, though. It's coming off a big week for the currency. Coming off a big week for the currency. It's, matching the same enthusiasm that we saw in traditional markets as they have seen their biggest weekly rally since the 1970s. Not the 1870s, the 1970s, mind you. But Aussies who are looking to enjoy the beaches this weekend are going to be disappointed as the government has decided to shut down the Australian beaches for the Easter holiday. Meanwhile, the United States dollar, of course, continues to tank following the massive jobless increase here in America and the improvement overall of price for risk-on assets, right? As the riskier assets increase, the reserve currency is going to decrease in value. We can see this from the Dixie. Now, also, we'll get to this in a second. The pound sterling was the biggest Forex mover today, coming off the news that Prime Minister Bojo had been transferred out of intensive care to a regular hospital bed following his diagnosis with the coronavirus on top of the United States dollar's decline. I also failed to mention that the Fed is also, of course, ramping up their lending program, and every dollar loaned means that existing dollars are now less valuable. So that is contributing to the tumbling decline of the dollar. And, of course, today, New York State has now surpassed any country outside the United States for new numbers of coronavirus cases. Now, over in Europe, fears over the EU continued, basically, economic fears continued over a failure to reach an agreement on the debt that we were talking about, the desire to find some joint community debt assignment. But Northern Europe doesn't really want to share the debt with Southern Europe, and I absolutely get that. So that still remains the same over there. Over in cryptocurrency land, again, we saw most things not really have a significant follow through during the day. Obviously, coming off of this morning, we saw that tumble down to the downside that we talked about yesterday as price began collapsing as we were as just basically right after the show and off into the early mornings. But for the majority of the day, we've basically been flat. We've largely been flat, right? We ended up yesterday, obviously at daily close, we ended up shorting some altcoins as well in the group. We shorted Bitcoin as well, added to that position today. So all right, so it's been a pretty interesting day. We've got a whole lot to talk about. Today. The first thing we're going to be talking about is BSV. So we need about 30 seconds. So we're going to take a brief break. I apologize. Just one small technical issue did just appear. So a brief break, and then we're going to get right into the news with today's cryptocurrency segment and then break down the markets. Don't go anywhere, guys. All right, our first story today is going to be about BSV's halving event that just took place today. So we've been following the ongoing developments inside the world of mining, where the different Bitcoin blockchains are going through the process of experiencing their halving event here for 2020. And the latest, of course, is BSV, which just hours after Bitcoin Cash's halving event we covered, completed its own 50% reduction to their block reward, the first in its history, as well as BCH's. Now, BSV, of course, is a fork of the Bitcoin Cash protocol, which emerged over a split in the BCH community regarding additions to the blockchain, regarding additions to the operating protocol. BCH, of course, was a fork of Bitcoin when the community split away over a disagreement on scaling. This was the infamous big block, small block debate in the UASF, the user activated soft fork, which was pushed through, which preserved the network, which required us to not have which required not having the UASF was pushed through, right? We've covered this in a bunch of videos. UASF was pushed through, which didn't require us to do a hard fork. And then the BCH community, the big block community, decided to fork away anyways. And now here we are, nigh on 2 years later. Now, point is, these three Bitcoin blockchains are all undergoing their block number 630,000 halving event around the same time. The BSV chain is just the latest, and just like what we saw yesterday with BCH network metrics, as soon as the halving block was mined, a portion of the network's miners jumped over to begin mining the BTC chain instead of continuing to mine the BSV chain at reduced output. Now, Bitcoin is not due for its block reward halving for another month, so this does leave the BSV network less attractive to mine on for at least another 30 days. And as a result, the hash rate on the BSV network has collapsed, much like what we saw with BCH on Wednesday. Now, BSV proponents say that this is a temporary market condition, and how miners distribute their ASIC resources across the three Bitcoin chains will shift again once Bitcoin has its own difficulty adjustment or May's halving event. What's interesting to consider is this could lead to a potential hash war between the BCH and BSV chains, like what we saw go down between the two chains in late 2018. The concentration of ASIC power on those two networks during that hash rate war did have spillover effects onto Bitcoin's network at that time. So with the BCH and BSV halvings out of the way, our attention is now going over to Bitcoin over the next month, which has a difficulty adjustment coming up, as well as its halving set for mid-May. In other words, we can expect miners to be migrating back and forth between the two chains over the coming weeks, and we'll have a clearer picture of hash rate distribution across the three chains in just a few weeks' time. In terms of the price side of things, in the wake of this week's halvings, BSV and BCH have both seen a pretty significant drop in price, which coincided with a general market pullback for all cryptos today on Friday, again starting early this morning and moving on today. With Bitcoin dropping below 7,000, BCH gave back the gains that it had made on the previous day and closed today around $232, while BSV had a similar pullback, closing around $185 today's daily. Now, let's see here. In this previous Cointelegraph article, they go into the details behind the block reward halving and long-term profitability, including transaction fees, and this does touch on the BSV value proposition. But in this CoinGeek article, Jimmy Wen, who is with the blockchain research firm Nchain, which itself is behind the BSV blockchain, owned by Craig Wright, declared that the halving will be a pivotal moment for Bitcoin SV. Wen says that in the short term, the 2020 halving will have an impact on miner profitability, but the long-term trend, however, is one where transaction fees become increasingly more relevant for a miner's profitability, as miners earn increasingly less from the actual block rewards following each 4-year halving event. Wen argues that they will need to offset that with income from more transaction fees. Seems logical. And as BSV developer Daniel Connolly explained it in comments made to Cointelegraph, that the cost of mining a block has not changed. The subsidy paid out in mining rewards, though, has halved. To make up the slack, a miner can choose to increase their transaction fees, or they can increase the number of transactions contained in each block in order to collect more fees per block. This is, of course, where the BSV value proposition lays. By having nearly unlimited block size, miners of the future will fall back on transaction fees rather than actual block rewards. Whereas Alex Spears, the Bitcoin Association, and also a BSV proponent, says the Bitcoin network was really designed to incentivize network sustainability through transaction fees and not mining block rewards. According to Spears, the problem with BTC and BCH, their extremely limited block sizes wouldn't allow and won't allow for profitability through transaction fees. In other words, BSV in the future hopes to attract miners through transaction fees as other chains diminish in their block rewards paid out to their miners. This is one of the fundamental propositions behind BSV, and I suggest you guys give this Cointelegraph article a read, because I think that it does present what BSV's, what their narrative is, what they're setting out to build, and you guys can come to your own conclusions. Now, in the meantime, we can look at data from Coindance and see that the BTC chain now controls 99% of the hash rate distribution among all three blockchains. So if we go solely by tonight's snapshot of the hash rate, well, we can see which blockchain is incentivizing the most miners right now. The halving on the BCH and BSV chains has led to a noticeable drop in the hash rate controlled by the two networks, but we'll see where we stand in about a month's time and keep our eyes on these trends in the mining industry. All right, our next story, and this is kind of interesting for anybody here in the United States. Now, this is an update to something that we've been following in recent weeks that I didn't think we would really see action on so soon. So we discussed the other week how Jack Dorsey was stepping up with the Cash App, offering to help federal authorities distribute the stimulus money to people. A CNN Business then reported that representatives from Square's Cash App, as well as from competitor Venmo, as well as other companies, actually reached out to the United States Treasury to see if their technology companies could help. Well, it seems the government has taken up the offer, with the IRS announcing earlier today that it was going to be launching a tool for those who don't usually file a tax return to be given access to the government's stimulus money. Trump bucks coming in hot for those without a bank account. Then, just hours after the IRS decision came down, Square announced that a feature was being added to the Cash App that will be providing users direct access to their allocated stimulus payments. Now, the IRS tool will be launching their no tax return tool on their website on April 17th, and sources suggest it will begin transmitting payments to accounts hosted by the Cash App to its users. Or as Square CEO Jack Dorsey put in a tweet earlier today, get your $1,200 even if you didn't file a tax return in 2019. So pretty interesting to see that ramping up. I didn't really think we would see that this soon. Now, as explained in the Cash App's latest official blog post, this explains how the Cash App is now offering routing and account numbers that can be used to direct your stimulus payments directly into your Cash App balance. They direct your attention to the latest features found in the Cash App's banking tab, which now is a feature which will display the necessary account information for users to get direct government cheddar deposited into their Cash App wallet balance. Now, the crypto community, of course, remains convinced that Cash App users with their accounts freshly funded by Uncle Sam will be diversifying their Cash App holdings with just a few swipes, seeing the app also happens to offer the instant purchase of Bitcoin as well, or as Cash App's Chief Financial Officer Armida Anuja mentioned in a recent phone call with investors that they're seeing adoption and engagement of fractional equity investing in Bitcoin accelerate in recent weeks. We talked about this last week. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am curious to hear how much of the stimulus money makes it onto the Cash App and how much of that stimulus money gets traded in for Bitcoin in the coming weeks leading up to the halving. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Our final story of the day, we're going to be talking about, we recently covered the Binance card, which allows you to spend your crypto on the fly using a Visa-issued debit card. Well, that all went wrong, apparently, and Visa was scrubbed from the whole product. We covered that as well, leaving a lot of unanswered questions. Interestingly enough, though, it has just been announced that the crypto cashback app known as Fold is launching a Visa-issued payments card that will allow users to earn BTC rewards instead of conventional points or travel miles. Highlighted by this announcement is Visa's crossover into the world of crypto by their own payment processing system to help settle crypto in the real world. So in a way, Visa is bridging the traditional credit debit card world with new customers and systems around the world with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But sadly, this is not the Binance idealized crypto to fiat Visa card just yet, but it's certainly interesting to take a look at what Fold is doing together with Visa. And this whole partnership started when Fold joined the Visa FinTech Fast Track program, which gave the San Francisco-based crypto startup the ability to release their co-branded Visa payments card as part of their Fold Rewards program, which is set to earn users Bitcoin as a kind of cashback rewards program when using the card for making payments. So you'll use the card to make payments and you'll earn Bitcoin as your cashback rewards, not the using your crypto as Visa anywhere you want to go. Now, what Binance screwed up about this with the roll-up of their Visa issued Binance card, Uncle Sam swipe. Sorry. What Binance screwed up about this with the rollout of their Visa issued Binance card is anyone's guess at this point. We don't really know why Visa was scrubbed from Binance's announcements, but Will Reeves, who is the CEO over at Fold, stated that their rewards program is a game changer, as consumers will have the chance to accrue and hold the leading cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. He specifically put it that people aren't really interested in spending Bitcoin right now. So, allowing people the option to spend their Bitcoin via Visa doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but they are interested in accumulating this. So if people don't understand Bitcoin as money yet, they certainly will understand it as a better reward, which makes a whole lot of sense, right? Don't offer individuals the ability to really spend their crypto, because who wants to do that? Offer them the ability to save their crypto, because that is Bitcoin's value proposition, store value. Now, Reeves argues that Fold customers will have a distinct advantage by racking up Bitcoin instead of airline miles, loyalty points, other sorts of rewards programs, traditional cash kickbacks via cashback. And since Bitcoin obviously has no expiration date, the rewards that you receive in Bitcoin can be used to offset the cost of your next purchase, your next savings, or your next withdrawal, giving consumers freedom and flexibility. Consumers can also spend from their Bitcoin rewards by purchasing fiat-denominated gift cards for retailers on the Fold app to use on their next purchase, or allow the value to accumulate like they would in a savings account. So you can't actually cash that Bitcoin reward in and get a gift card, essentially, and use it at the retailers that are authorized on the Fold app, or just save your Bitcoin. Save your Bitcoin. Major companies and retail brands in the Fold network include Amazon, Airbnb, Delta, Uber, Nike, Starbucks, Nintendo's eShop, LL Bean, Domino's, and Burger King. So certainly a lot of places where people are going to be spending money on a daily basis. Now, payments giant Visa continues its string of collaborations in the crypto space as well, with notable projects. Now, while the Binance card might not have worked out, Coinbase seems to be moving ahead with its Visa-powered payments card for their own users. So Visa still certainly muscling into the space with a continued string of partnerships. So again, unclear exactly what Binance did to ruffle the feathers of Visa, but Coinbase certainly hasn't. So definitely keep our eyes on that as we emerge. All right. With that being said, that is today's Crypto Currently segment. So hopefully that was helpful. If you guys have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, and/or death threats, leave them in the section down below. And we're going to cover tonight's market analysis. But first, if you guys want to get an update on the Bybit trading competition, let's bring that up right now. Top competitor Roy Coin is up 62.62% since the start of the competition. We've only been live like a week. My dear Ness. Oh my, yes, that's good. Okay. Sorry, sometimes you got to see it for yourself to believe it. I am sitting myself at about 4.52% on the competition. Crypto Sophie, Mr. QC up about 9.24%. Furry Boff and the man, the myth, the legend up about 15% on the day. So good stuff, good times. If you guys want to join us for the next trading competition, we host them from time to time, and you guys can sign up if you haven't already at Bybit. There is a link down in the description, bybit.krakencryptocurrency.com. There is a $90 margin bonus if you guys sign up today. We're going to hear a brief word, and then we're going to get into today's market analysis. Let's go. Can't catch a break over on BitMEX with all the wicks? Try a better alternative at buybit.crackingcryptocurrency.com and rest easy for a change. I love watching that. All right. So in the realm of crypto. All right, what do we got over here? Let's go to the daily as we are wont to do. All right, Bitcoin in the daily time frame has closed below the continuation filter. That essentially puts us in a no trade zone until we cross back above the continuation filter for my current daily time frame strategy, or until we get something like a reversal baseline bounce. Now we are still above the baseline, so we would be biased to the upside. Now there is a discretionary trade, and this is the trade that we actually ended up putting on today. This is the trade that we put on earlier yesterday. But this is where we can actually, again, the only type of this is a system that generates good results. It is more risky. It's not something that we do all the time. But again, taking shorts below the continuation filter back down to the vicinity of the baseline is a trade setup that I've seen people utilize. It's a trade setup that was utilized when I first, initiated this system. Again, that is of course, essentially by nature trading against the daily trend, but it can pay off in certain situations. So that's where we're at on the daily. The overall bias, the overall directional bias is still to the upside. We are still spot long. I am still spot long anyways, as we are still above the baseline. Let's check in with the baseline and see where we are there. Boom. Current baselining is sitting at 60.92. That's going to be the area for reversal baseline bounces, looking to take trades to the upside, and what I would consider our short-term downside target if we were to descend and come back all the way back into support. Now, of course, we have broken down the volume profile analysis, the higher time frame analysis of Bitcoin overall, looking at where we're at in terms of supply and demand. And again, we are above what I would consider Bitcoin's fair market price. I've talked about fair market price before in Bitcoin, and this is really the denomination of that fair market price. This becomes a little bit clearer to see on the weekly. So here we are. Here's the weekly time frame with our VPVR. This goes to the end of Bitcoin's all-time high in December of 2017, and encompasses the depths of the lows that we saw at the beginning of 2019 at the end of 2018, which is our accumulation range down there around 3,300 to 4,000. Now, 6,000 to 7,000, 6,000 to 7,000. It's actually 6,004 to 6,909, but why split hairs? Let's just call it 6,000 to 7,000 is what I would call the median range. And we have overhead resistance and we have lower below support. So these are our levels of supply and demand. Now we have been accepted back above the overall point of control of Bitcoin's price here. So we are back above we are back above roughly where the point of control sits. Point of control sits around 6,400, 63.64, I believe is where it is on the chart. 63.64 is where it sits on the chart. So any retreats on the weekly time frame, any retreats down into that price zone, into that yellow box territory, are going to be buying opportunities for me until, and that's true unless we close below 6,000. If we close a weekly time frame below 6,000, I begin to be concerned, and it begins to look like we will inevitably go down and retest our lower levels of 3,000 to 4,000, which is totally possible at this point in time, even with the halving coming up. In fact, what have we seen at the last two halvings? That as soon as the halving occurs, price does actually drop a little bit, then we consolidate for a while, and then we begin the next mission to the upside. But where we sit right now, weekly time frame looks good. Weekly time frame is bullish. We've been moving to the upside. Again, I talked about a pullback back to around 6,300. That's not, this is not concerning. This does not flip the overall daily trend. This does not flip the overall weekly trend. As I said on the daily, The daily trend is bullish above 6,029, so I'd be actually quite happy to see pullbacks down into that region. The actual optimum buy zone here would be 6,000 to 6,600 because our qualifying line is sitting at 6,600. So things are looking good here for the daily time frame. But again, we are overall in a no trade zone. Daily swing trades could be entered on if we close above 72.71. So that's quite a movement for us right now. I don't think that that's likely to happen, especially over the weekend. I would expect to see overall more downside pressure midterm over the next 3 to 4 days. And we'll see what the market looks like on Monday. Previously I'd been kind of biased. The traditional markets were going to gap up. On Tuesday. The traditional markets were going to gap up on Tuesday. But, I'm not quite sure. It's really going to depend. We got some negative news today. If the Forex markets are any kind of indication, then it's really kind of anybody's game. Now I have a long exposure, but I'm also hedged fairly well. On traditional markets as well. So I've got a lot of split positions on and things are good. I'm not really concerned at what the opening bell looks like come Tuesday, but we'll wait and see. We'll see what Monday's close, we'll see what Tuesday's close look like, and we'll see if we need to pick up any new positions. Overall, I think that the traditional markets look healthy right now, continuing to list to the upside. So Bitcoin overall on the daily is just kind of overall in this range. That means there's not a whole lot to do on the daily. We exited long swing trades yesterday actually. We exited long swing trades last night. Or was it this morning? Everything's running together now. Everything's running together. I take on so many trades. I have to look at my trading journal to remember. I just do what the charts tell me. It's like a machine. I'm robotic. Anyways, and we had some short exposure yesterday, which we added to today. We are in with the BTC USDT perpetual contract, we can be both long and short on the same contract. So got a little bit of short exposure on right now. I'm spot long. I have short trades on, leverage short trades on, and I'm in a 15-minute, in a lower time frame scalp to the upside as well. So I say a lower time frame scalp. It's not really a scalp, but we'll see. And we'll get into that when we get down to the lower time frame. So not a whole lot to do on the daily time frame. Again, overall expecting to see price dip back down into the 6,000s, the lower 6,000s, and we'll reevaluate from there. Minx has crossed under the noise line, which is an exit signal as well, trailing to the downside. Has not crossed below the zero line yet, but has generated that exit signal. Wadatar explosion, our delta, we still have positive volume delta, but it is falling to the downside now and about to cross below the explosion level. And Parallax will be flipping bearish on today's daily candle. So swing longs aren't really getting the confirmation that they need here. We've had a nice run of it, about a week of positive momentum and upside here. And now we've kind of fallen back into a no trade condition here for daily swing trades. All right, getting down to the 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame is interesting. All right, we talked about the 4-hour time frame overall in what we know now to be a distribution range right here. We analyzed this range and we talked about price closing the 4-hour candle above 73.89 to be looking to take breakout longs to the upside, and price closing the 4-hour candle below 72.75. That was the right trade. And yes, did it take some sticking to your plan to short that movement? It sure did, because we closed below that level right here, and then we got scam wick to the upside. But if you held your position, boy, were you rewarded. So always remember, guys, that just because price moves against you, that's not invalidation. Again, if you take this trade, then you really want the opposite to occur to invalidate your trade. One candle moving against you does not an exit make. That's probably the biggest thing. The biggest thing is, seeing like one candle move against you and assuming that that's really an exit condition. Now, certainly, if it trips your exit condition, yes, but the exit condition that I would have laid out for this trade, if I were looking at this range and I wanted to short the 4-hour breakdown below our current level of support, then I would have said, well, price needs to close the 4-hour all the way back up above. That's what needs to happen. Or I would have, used my indicator-based system, which is even better. Use levels of support and resistance and confluence. So for this, again, did Minx cross the 4-hour to the upside? Did Minx give a 4-hour crossover? Certainly did not. Minx certainly did not give a 4-hour crossover. And Parallax had flipped bearish right about the middle of this range, confirming trades to the downside. And Minx actually, again, crossing under all the way back over here. Minx crossed under all the way back over here, potentially putting you in that reversal short here, and price trailing to the downside. Minx flipping bearish actually on this candle from a trending perspective, right? So certainly not the best entry candle right there, but a lot of other opportunities there utilizing Minx in alternative ways. All right. And of course, Wadatar explosion, confirming these short trades here and getting this nice rising explosion level on the previous candle. So WADA gave a nice objective signal on the candle right before this. So you could have caught this movement quite well. And no exit signal yet. That is like quite hard for me to see. I don't know why that is, but switch that to white. Yeah, no exit signal yet. So 4-hour Minx has not crossed over, has not invalidated trades. On the 15-minute time frame, I am actually expecting a little bit of upside pressure here. So we've got VPSV. This is the 15-minute time frame. The other thing that I want to bring up is going to be okay. A couple things here that I want to point out. All right, so if we look where we broke down from yesterday's point of control, again, we talked about price. Let's go back to kind of the most important things in our analysis here on the lower time frames. So price broke down over here on the 7th, came down and found support on the previous day's point of control. This is the point of control, actually all the way back from the 5th, then the breakout point of the 6th. Still the point of control there. We tapped off of that, came back up, tagged the point of control. We called that. That's exactly what I expected to see on that day. You know, overwhelming amount of times price, if it collapses, will come back and retest the previous day's point of control. We consolidated up there, distributed there for 2 days almost with some very kind of weak price action. I think this was the more telling move. You always want to look at which way the market is moving more impressively. You know, if the market is moving lazily upwards, there was sharp dives to the downside, moving lazily, sharp dives to the downside. I mean, it tells you where the strength is in the market. Tells you where the strength is in the market. Anyways, we end up breaking down, forming a new point of control, breaking down from that. Obviously, we had a pretty significant sell-off today. And we did see buyers step in. We saw buyers begin to step in right here, right? And it wasn't the bottom, right? Price did sell off more. And, you know, that's kind of an interesting thing, right? I see this on Twitter. I watch traders, right? And like right around here, right? I saw a lot of people get bullish, you know, for about 3 hours on Twitter today. And even traders I talked to. And they're like, hey, look at that. The buyers are stepping in. We got some support. And then like as soon as like price rejected from there, they like wanted to just take new swing shorts and continue taking price to the downside. And it's like, look, man. Like trade your setup. You know, if you think that buyers just stepped in and you think that we're at support, then come on, man. Again, just because buyers step in does not mean that market pressure will not push price down a little bit further. So we did see our local low down here. What's our actual low of the market today? Actual low of the market today is down at 67.51.50, right? So that's really the level that needs to get cracked. We need to close something like a 30-minute or an hour or a 4-hour below that to really invalidate that current level so far. What I would actually expect to see today, we have a single print. Those in the group are going to be familiar with this who have watched the VPSV tutorial on the trading strategy, the VPSV trading strategy that I have in the for the premium members. So we have a single print right here, sitting up at 71.38. I would actually expect to see that get hit. If not a little bit higher, if not like 71.80. I think that we could overshoot it a little bit. But over here on Bybit, certainly 71.38 seems like a logical target on the perpetual contracts to hit. To tap that single print, also act likely as a level of resistance. So, you know, could price get back up to the 72, 73s? I think that's probably unlikely at this point in time before seeing lower prices. But I would expect us to rally up to about 71.38 before we descend lower would be my overall take of this. But again, you know, if we end up, you know, closing multiple candles below 67.51 there, And then we'll just have to consider that wrong for right now. But definitely, you know, I would keep my eye on that level on the chart. That's 71.38. That will be important. Single prints and gaps get filled, and single print is an important VPSV level to watch out for. So I do expect that level to get tagged, because you can see that's where buyers had originally stepped in, right? You can see buyers did step in with pressure there. They got gutted. Buyers stepped in more in force here. Not a lot of buyers really stepped in here, but sellers were exhausted, right? So it's not where the buyers stepped in. It's where the sellers stopped selling. That's where the market turns around. It's when the last available seller is sold is when the market moves up, right? Overall. 24-hour news cycle. So we are now consolidating under yesterday's point of control. If one was looking for a breakout trade, I would wait to watch this break right here above this level, and then take the rounded, and then take the BPC up to 71.38 would be the trade setup that I'd be watching for. Am I sponsored by VeChain? No. They did send me the shirt though. If by send me the shirt you mean gave it to me for free at their booth at San Francisco Blockchain Week. Yeah. If by sponsored you mean gave me free swag at the booth where they were giving everybody else free swag, yes. Then yes. Do something like, and now today's altcoin analysis coverage brought to you by VeChain. Making transactions trustless again. I don't know. It says something neat on the back. Building the blockchain of the future. Contractually obligated to mention VeChain every 30 minutes. Sorry. All right. Let's go take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum on the daily. Let's see here. What do we see? Negative 6.75% from Ethereum today. On Bitcoin, about 5.82. So again, Ethereum overperforming Bitcoin as well. Higher volatility. Again, same thing on the daily, closing below the continuation filter, generating not only a breaking Bitcoin system exit signal, but also the modified Minx exit signal as well on that very same candle, right? So again, discretionary short if you guys are trading against the dominant trend. It's not really the trade setups that I like to look for. I am an Ethereum short, full disclosure. So yes, I did take that trade, but I digress. And we can see Minx actually signaling for the take profit long signal on the previous day's close. We talked about that two evenings ago. We talked about that 2 evenings ago. Falling Wadatar explosion, positive delta diversion. So Wadatar hasn't given us any kind of trending confirmation to the short side. We're not in a bearish trend. Neither are we in a bearish trend on Bitcoin. We're in a bullish trend experiencing a pullback. And Parallax has also not given us that bearish confirmation yet. So our confirmation indicators are bullish, right? Our confirmation indicators are bullish. Our momentum oscillator is pointing to the downside right now. And we do want that to be pointing to the upside, to be looking for long exposure, or crossing back up, or crossing back above the volatility filter. Now, a daily close above 170.87 would be flipping us back long at this point in time. That'd be a momentum reentry. Or if Minx were to cross back above the noise line now, would be a momentum reentry as well. Overall, where's our baseline sitting here on Ethereum? All the way down at 120.60. So 120.60 is the level where we need to get down to. It's not the level where we need to get down to. That is where we currently have support. That is our dynamic level of support and resistance. So that's where we would want to be taking reversal baseline bounces. I expect that that'll be closer to about 135, 140 by the time we get there, unless we do have a much more violent sell-off than I'm actually anticipating. I don't really see evidence of that yet. So daily time frame is really in a do-nothing situation right now, except for exiting swing longs. 4-hour time frame for Ethereum. Four-hour time frame for Ethereum. Minx actually gave us the cross under all the way over here. Gave us the cross under at the very top on this candle close, right? 4-hour Minx gave you the cross under right at the candle close. I mean, this thing's a beast. Let's see here. Got chopped up a little bit here, which is good because look what Minx is doing. Minx is getting chopped up. And what is WADA doing? Telling you to stay out of the market on the 4-hour time frame. And when does WADA give you some bearish confirmation? Right on this candle, closing above the explosion level. You actually get a rising explosion level on this candle right here. So not catching all of the bearish trend if you were waiting for a rising explosion level. Of course, that's with the 20. So for the lower time frames, speed that up a little bit. Yeah, we got it. We got it earlier. You would have got the rising explosion level 4 hours prior to that. So you would have caught all of that bearish movement to the downside. But really, you would have been justified to be entering that short on the 4-hour time frame right about here. Right about here as well. So getting in here, a little bit of pullback for about 12 hours and then price moving in your favor. Not generating an exit signal yet, except for Minx going oversold and then back above. So that is definitely potentially one as well. Parallax also going oversold and recovering. Those are pretty good exit signals as well there. So overall 4-hour, I think I would be flat on Ethereum. Certainly after this distribution level and getting that nice short signal right here. Looking at the lower time frames. Oh, the other thing that I didn't mention, sorry, on the 15-minute time frame for Bitcoin was this bullish divergence on Minx. So, right. So here we have our lows on Minx. We form a significantly lower low, and we form a higher low on the oscillator. Okay. And then a higher low and a higher low on the momentum oscillator, confirming the bottom. So that's a pretty strong indication of a short-term bottom for me. I think over the next 2 to 3 days, this might be the bottom, but I do expect this to actually trade lower than that. But again, as I said, I do expect this to go up and tag 71.38 before we do that, but then to move again in that direction, because that is what the higher time frames are saying as well. And similar over here for Ethereum. We don't really have that single print here for Ethereum. We kind of formed a weak single print here around 160.80, and I would say that we've already tested that level right here. So this is a little different. We don't have the exact same thing. We don't have the exact same kind of setup that we'd be looking for on Bitcoin for Ethereum. So there's not really the strong bullish case for the upside. The previous point of control that was contested was about 165.33. So that would be my target if Ethereum is to break to the upside here. I just don't really see a strong single print. Although, I mean, obviously I can visually see, buyer step in right about here. So maybe a more conservative target for the up trade would be about 163.05 if one was looking for a swing trade to the upside at this point in time. Followed by 165.33. Looking at Renko. Renko, of course, has flipped bearish on Bitcoin here. And Renko has been bearish on Ethereum for quite a while here. So I'm sure Mr. Ether is just... All right, let's check the chat, and then we'll get into Forex and traditional markets. Really only Forex to talk about today, but... David Rice, I see you in the chat. EO Mishornmez. Any opinions on the short term? Yes, price is going to move up and then it's going to move down. Ricky T says, what program do I use to get all of those charts? 8 at a time? All up on his monitor all at once. And can you put any items or assets? That's just TradingView. That's TradingView, premium TradingView. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 monitors, 8 charts on each monitor. Bob is watching this in virtual reality right now, coming live from inside your head. The only guy not having a bad hair day this month. Yep. Yeah, this is a fresh shirt right out of the bag. Bullish on haircuts. Left his hot pocket in the microphone. The pie guy says, I made a profitable trade, and they said it couldn't be done. Do we call this the Dorsey tool now? Yeah, possibly. Wait. What is this? Currency speculation? Yes. T Puppy says, do I sell my indicators on TradingView? I do not. I sell, well, I mean, indicator access, all of the premium indicator suite comes to all members who are part. If you join the premium trading group, you get access to everything. The premium indicator suite, the Pathways to Profit strategy building course, all of our educational material, our private community on Discord, our community mentoring sessions, one-on-one mentoring depending on your tier, all of that. Good to see you, Crypto Caveman. All right. Man, D-Live is like going back deep. McP says, this is the only corner of the internet where people are actually happy to help each other out. Man, yeah, no, definitely not on Telegram, I would say. CryptoKid978, good to see you, my friend. All right. So we covered cryptocurrency. Let's get over and talk about... No problem, man. Let's get over and talk about... Where are we at? Are we on main diversified yet? We are on main diversified. Let's take a look at our foreign currencies today. I got a lot. I mean, I have so many Forex trades on, it's making my head hurt. They just keep signaling. All right, so long on the Australian yen. I mean, the Aussie is certainly the Aussie is certainly the pair to be long on. The Australian dollar has certainly been the big mover of the week. I mean, really putting in some positive movements. And again, I've talked about the reasons for this before. Forex is one of those markets where you can ignore fundamentals, but it certainly helps. It certainly helps, particularly for risk management and risk mitigation, and knowing, I guess, just putting some bang behind your buck, I guess, is probably the best thing, or just being more educated about overall what's going on. But the Australian dollar is heavily commodity dependent, and the Australian dollar rises as global commerce rises. So it's kind of an early indication of, rising investor faith overall that global commerce is going to be restored and that the world isn't going to fall down to the down, that the world isn't going to collapse, right? And, kind of irregardless of what risk on assets do. Now, I would assume that when the market opens up next week, should we gap down to the downside and begin another round of selling off, right, and experiencing retesting lows or potentially creating even lower lows on traditional markets, on our indices, I would expect the Australian dollar to fall as well as the United States dollar would begin to rise. Because again, it's the market's tip, the Dixie will rise. Reversal. Zuhair asks, can a Minx TPS serve as an early long signal, or do I wait for full parallax and what a confirmation for entries? So yeah, I mean, the answer there is well, hold on. Let's just fall back a second. So that is not my initiator. Minx TPS is not my initiator. I do know individuals that have experimented with that with different results. That is generally going to be considered a reversal trade, unless for some reason, a TPS is going to be generated by Minx going oversold and then coming back above. It's not. There's a little bit more that's going on there, but essentially that's what it is. There is a little bit more happening there behind the scenes. But I haven't really found a consistent system that I'm aware of to get a confirmer and a volatility filter that works in conjunction with that. Now, I won't lie, on its own, depending on how you set Minx up, its TPS and TPL signals are great reversal trades. I'm not going to lie. They have an extremely high hit rate. That was, one could argue, what the indicator was originally designed to do, what the original code base was designed to do. But it's been repurposed to be a trending indicator because it's even better when we do that. And we avoid the chop, we avoid the inconsistencies, and we know that we're trading in the direction of the dominant trend. So, for all the positive reasons, that's why I utilize Minx the way I do. However, I'm not going to lie. I will say that Minx on its own, it has TPS and TPL signals tend to be really good trade entries, right? Discretionary reversals. So it's something that you can experiment with. It's certainly something you can play with. I would certainly build a primary system first, but if that's, it can be utilized however you'd like it to be, sir. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The TPS and TPL signals do often look like really attractive entries on many time frames. And to be quite honest with you, those are the type of signals that I look for when I'm trading lower time frames. All right. Trending signals are generally not the best way to scalp the 15-minute time frame. You need your trending signals on your higher time frames, and then you need to go down and use the directional bias from those higher time frames to trade overextended areas on lower time frames, right? So those TPS, TPL signals can be really attractive entries, for example, on the 45-minute chart or the 15-minute chart. So I utilize a discretionary Minx system if I'm trading on the 15-minute chart and I trade in the direction of the dominant trend. I've covered that in the premium mentoring sessions. And I talk about how I use Parallax for those confirmations as well. Or Wada Atar. There's lots of ways to do it. Yeah, but certainly. So the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Is that going to be, by the book, what most people are going to do? No, but certainly a good eye. Certainly a good eye. Thank you so much for the donation, my friend. Hopefully you're doing awesome tonight, too, Harry. All right, so the Australian yen, long on the Australian yen, price continuing to move to the upside. Aussie Kiwi, not any positioning on this, but this is looking okay. We are getting a doji candle on the daily here. This is not a full reversal doji. This is not a shooting star. This is not a inverted hammer, and it's not setting up for a shooting star pattern yet. But one to watch. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a pullback come opening bell, come Sunday evening here for Awanda. The Australian CAD's in a similar situation. We are getting a doji, generally meaning that the markets are at equilibrium right now. So again, the Australian dollar pairs look good. I mean, all of my trades have hit TP1. I have no exit signals yet. I'm prepared for this Australian dollar trend to continue on, but I would not be surprised to see some pullbacks coming in, particularly looking at these dojis. Same for the Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar putting in a bit of a doji. Everything strong. We don't have any kind of cross unders or exit signals yet. Canadian Swissies in a no trade zone for me. It's coming off of a nice pop up to the upside here and above the continuation filter, but the CAD Swissy needs to close below. It needs to put in some momentum to the upside. We're in an overall bullish trend here, but I would expect to see price actually kind of close down below this. I'd expect to see price kind of close down below this. This continuation filter below not 68966, and then from there, if we were to break that and lose that, I would expect to see price kind of heading back down to the baseline around not 67 for the CAD Swissy. Looking at the CAD yen, same thing here. The CAD yen was actually a potential continuation trade today, but I'm not really seeing the same strength in the Canadian dollar that I'm seeing in other pairs. So not a trade that I took. Not one that I added to as I entered into the CAD yen when I should have a few candles ago. Over here, I believe. Yeah, on the original crossover, the continuation filter. But we can see the rising explosion level, so getting that powerful signal from Wadatar explosion today. So interesting to see a potential opportunity to re-add, but I did not. We really need to break up out of this continuation, or out of this kind of consolidation that we've had for the last 4 days is what I'd really like to see. Swissy yen is in a no trade zone. We're in a bearish trend on the Swissy yen, and although we are closing back above the baseline here, we really haven't triggered any of our confirmers to the upside here. We don't really have any positive upside confirmation here. So Parallax is still bearish. Wadatar explosion is not giving us a rising explosion level, and we also haven't cracked the initiator on the breaking Bitcoin system. So nothing to do here for the Swissy yen. The Euro Aussie here is in a continued downtrend here. This has been, a good short for one that caught this. We already took this trade. But yeah, Parallax is just now reaching oversold levels. So watch for Parallax to recover back above the oversold level here. Perhaps we can actually get some upside momentum back up to about 175.84 potentially on the daily here. But for now, the Euro Aussie is not actually generating an exit signal and not doing anything. Still in a bearish trend. Same for the Euro Canadian. The Euro Canadian actually generating an exit signal though on today's daily candle. So flat on the Euro Canadian after a short trade on the Euro Canadian, a continuation short, actually an initial and a continuation short on the very same candle. But this would have been an initial entry for the Euro Canadian. And again, not the most profitable trade, but closing out with about 0.5% in profit. So good trade overall. Euro Swissies in a no trade zone for me here. I'm kind of biased for this thing to pop to the upside. We are above the initiator, but we need to get our confirmer flipped back long. So we need to see some more positive momentum upside. We're good to take this long as we're below 1.0604. But the confirmation isn't there. Euro Kiwi continue to stay short on the Euro Kiwi. No crossovers, no exit signals, nothing. We continue to trend to the downside here. Euro Pound, same thing, although we got this exit signal over here. So the Euro Pound has been one to stay flat on. I don't see a continuation or any kind of reinitiation of short risk here. Euro Yen, same thing. Although we are climbing to the upside, there's no confirmation here. Not a trade that I want to take. This is just not what I'm looking for. The Euro Dollar, I really honestly hate trading this pair. Euro Dollar is one of the worst pairs to trade under the history of God's green earth. And so I don't really see anything here attractive to do. The pound Kiwi, on the other hand, the pound Kiwi also, actually, excuse me. So the pound Kiwi definitely needing price to crack below 2.04194. It's where we can get short on the pound Kiwi. Nothing to do right now. We will be set up if we can actually on Monday close down below 2.04194. Then we can actually have some downside potential coming in here. The pound Canadian is setting up for a continuation long, but we need to get parallax flipped back up to the upside. We don't have that confirmation coming in yet. Pound Swissy, same thing. We got an exit signal after taking the pound Swissy long over here, and there's just really nothing to do right now. Pound yen remain long on the pound yen. Got the continuation signal over here. The breaking Bitcoin system confirming with a double up here, and price hasn't moved too much, and overall just kind of hanging out. The pound, and again, the pound dollar having some positive movement today off the news that Bojo is out of recovery. So I expect that to kind of continue on. Unless Boris Johnson just dies this weekend, then I would expect to see the pound sterling continue to have some upside pressure, especially against the dollar over here as the dollar continues to fall. So the pound sterling definitely up against the dollar today, as we covered, and again long in the pound sterling as well, and short on the pound Aussie. Pound Aussie, good pair to short. Pound dollar, good pair to long, in my opinion, right? Nice way to split bid. The Kiwi dollar, long on the Kiwi dollar as well. You should pretty much be long on anything against the dollar right now, unless something dramatic, and unless we get a big dip, then you want to switch your positions around, and it's good to be hedged. That's why I have some of these, split these hedge exposures, right? This is a smart way to do this, especially when you have exposure in the ETF markets and you have a lot of exposure in Forex markets as well. Mr. Ether says that the euro dollar is one of the best Renko Forex pairs. Well, it's one of the worst Japanese candlestick pairs, I'll tell you that. Teach me, brother. Show me your magical methods. Show me what you're hiding underneath that hat. Who do you work for? The Kiwi Canadian, the Kiwi CAD, long on the Kiwi CAD. We got a nice continuation long signal on the Kiwi CAD today. Kiwi Swissy continue to trending to the upside. Not long on this one myself, but good positive momentum from the Kiwi Swissy to the upside here. No exit signals or nothing, but no continuation. So we definitely want to wait for price to pull back a little bit before getting long on this one. Same with the Kiwi Yen. Good positive upside momentum here, but we do want to wait for price to pull back and continue into the upside. Honestly, the reason why I'm not long on some of these that are trending is because I couldn't enter every Forex pair. I only have so much margin, guys. I only have so much margin. Robin says, if we need the euro higher, we push it. Zuhair, thanks so much for the $5 Australia, man. He says, thoughts on the CME 7290 gap. Tempted to front run my entry signals and enter along on the 4-hour minks. PPS, but cautious of FOMO. Man, I mean, let's take a look at it. That's not my setup. I would actually be surprised if we fill that gap. So, excuse me. I would be a little surprised if we have that much upside pressure. As I said, I can see price coming up and filling the single print up around 71.38. 72.90, I mean, certainly possible. But that would be pretty bullish to me if we get up to 72.90. And I would actually expect for price to continue moving to the upside. Quick aside, Depay guy asks what ETF and stocks are on my watch list. I don't trade individual stocks, but my ETF watch list is available for premium members in the TradingView watch list folder. In the introductory and beginner material folder, in the tools subfolder. Yeah, so I would be actually surprised. I think that would be pretty bullish beyond just, we're going to wick up to 72.90. I think if we get up to 72.90, not only do we fill the gap, I think we continue pushing onwards. Yeah, I would feel pretty strongly about that if Sunday comes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Utilizing the BTC USD perpetual contract, I have more short exposure than long exposure at this point in time. But I am in that trade. I am in that long trade up to the 71.80 level on the BTC USD perpetual because the price is a little different over there. Where you at? Yeah, we'll just do it here. Why would you say 72.90 when we closed at 73.15? I'm not gonna lie, I'm not feeling this one. Like I said, listen, I'm a little biased that we dip a little bit lower, so I think we certainly fill that gap eventually. I am bullish more midterm and long term. I think we're going to see about a week or so of pullback, but we'll see. What the traditional markets do on Tuesday is going to be so is going to be important. If we gap down, I expect Bitcoin to keep moving down. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we do get that run up over Sunday. I don't have a lot of faith that we do. I'll be happy if we do. I won't invalidate any of my trades if we do. I'll still be short. I'll get my long take profit filled. Be back a little bit below break even on my initial short. Be a little underwater on my second short, and my spot long positions will be looking good. So, cautious of FOMO. I would be too. Because listen, just a few minutes ago, you asked me, hey, can you use the TPS to interlock? Which means you haven't really backtested it, bro. Which means, you're looking for a reason to take a trade, man. So I don't, it's not a trade that I would counsel you take, right? Now take your time. Like after reviewing, if it's going to take you an hour to backtest that 4-hour TPS signal on Minx and see what the probability of it working out is. You can even take another hour and see if that lines up with gaps, right? About 2 hours of work, and then you'll know, right? You're looking for a trade. But yeah, I'd be a little, come on, man. Come on, man. I feel you. Thank you so much, man, for the 5 Aussie. Hope you're doing well tonight, my brother. What do I feel like? I'm a man without conviction. Yeah, that's right. Get some Karma Chameleon up in here. All right, look, back at the dollar Canadian, we continue to slump to the downside. No exit signal. The dollar Canadian is still in a downwards trend. The dollar Swissies in a no trade zone for me. If we end up cracking not 0.95727, then I'll be looking to take the dollar Swissy short. Similar to the dollar yen putting in a reversal short signal today from the Minx exit signal, but we do need to close below 107.59 before taking that to the downside. And then we've got the Aussie Swissy that I am long on, of course, strong and long on the Aussie pairs. And the dollar won. Let's take this baby down, man. Let's take this baby down. Short on the dollar won. Forex market breakdown. Woo! Did it. All right, it's 10:11. Good Friday. I think we will go up to 7.1K and go down Sunday or Monday. Overall, I'm bearish on the higher time frames. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. That's how I'm positioned as well. Let's see here. So not a whole lot to report in on gold and silver markets. They didn't trade today, but gold closed strong. ZAG closed strong. I'm long on silver. Brent, I am bullish on, but we're gonna wait and see. So we're gonna tag 38 before we tag 18. I've already been right once. Called 32. and the SPY and the Dow and the Qs. The SPY closed okay, but on a doji, the Q closed pretty weak, and the SPY closed also fairly weak. But again, gapping up. All three markets gapped up, but then, kind of moving into Thursday. So that doesn't necessarily concern me. Again, I think we have just as much probability. I'm biased that we open up strong next week, but I mean, honestly, anything could happen. Anything could happen. It's going to depend. Bitcoin's going to respond to what the larger market does. And again, the Dixie continues to decline, right? So Dixie declining, stocks are going to be doing well. The Australian dollar is going to be doing well. The yen's not going to be doing well. The yen's not doing well. Nobody wants that freaking yen. Everybody's flying out of the yen. Oh, man, Bitcoin just taking a nap. It's Friday evening. I wouldn't expect to see any, big movements here for another, I don't know, 18 hours, give or take. But I think we're gonna come up here and tag 7138. With that being said, guys. Oh, let me see if we got any. Chest. Dropping these lemons like it's hot over on DLive. Dark Rico, Robin from the Hood. Dark Rico, you're up late, man. What are you doing? It's way past your bedtime. Robin from the Hood, Mick P, Ricky T, DePie Guy, and Dark Rico. Big winners today. Thank you guys so much for participating. Yeah, it's a perpendicular obtuse triangle. That's what it is. What is the blue and yellow indicator? That is the reverse split. That's the volume profile session volume indicator. It indicates its volume by price, not volume by time. Did we vet moon yet? Let's go look. Let's see here. I mean, that's overall bullish. I'd like to see it above 55 sats before I get back in it. USDT pair not doing too hot though. Took that short here, right about here. Shorted vet today. Ended up closing the trade. Pulled about 4 or 5% profit out of it. Yeah. I shorted like, four? I shorted like 4 altcoins last night on Binance Margin and closed those out today. Just moving into the weekend. Don't need unnecessary exposure open. That's a small doc though. That's a small little baby doc though. Let's see if we get big old vet doc dough out of that. And thus a trend was born. All right, guys. Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I think it's time to head for the door. Oh, where's my OBS? There it is. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Analysis. I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at crackingcryptocurrency.com. I hope you guys go on to have an absolutely fantastic evening. If you want to help support the show, make sure to subscribe over on YouTube. Follow wherever you're watching. If it happens to be Twitch or DLive, make sure to pound that follow, subscribe, bell button wherever you are. Over on YouTube, the bell icon is the only way to make sure you get notifications. And don't forget to drop a like. It lets us know that you appreciate our work and incentivizes our team to continue producing good content for you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, or death threats, drop them in the comment section down below. We'll do our best to respond in the next 24 to 48 hours. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, where we post exclusive content you will not see anywhere else. And of course, if you guys want to join us in the premium trading group and begin your pathway to profitability, make sure to sign up at premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. Links are in the description to everything you could possibly need in life, as well as things to help you save money and protect yourself. And we will be back Monday. Yes, we will. We will be here Monday. Is it Easter on Monday? I don't know. I never remember these things. Terrible with holidays. I have people in my life who will tell me. Did I interview VeChain at San Francisco Blockchain Week? I did not. I actually didn't get a chance to interview VeChain. I probably could have. I mean, I got to interview whoever I wanted when I went into San Francisco Blockchain Week. I mean, yeah, ask all the guys we took down there. We took over that hallway, and people wanted to come have interviews with us. We took that. We took over down there. It was awesome. But I can certainly reach out to them. I got some contact information for VeChain. I could reach out to them and ask them for an interview. That would be fun. I got a chance to interview John Ehlers, the John Ehlers. I had a chance to sit down with him on Wednesday afternoon. He spoke to me from his office in California. I spoke to him from my office here in the Midwest. And it was an absolutely fantastic interview. I'm going to be editing that. I hope I get the chance to do that over the weekend and getting that uploaded to the YouTube. So make sure to watch and stay tuned for that. We've got another round of interviews from San Francisco Blockchain Week as well, including Storm, Reserve Venezuela, King Royal, Merkle Tree, a bunch more. Good interviews coming out. Great projects. All right, guys, we will be back Monday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin. I hope you guys are safe over the weekend. Happy Easter, Good Friday, everybody, and make sure to join the Discord and we can talk about all the wonders of sweet, sweet baby Jesus over there. I'm just talking. Kidding. We'll talk about cryptocurrency and Forex. I'll see you guys in the Discord. Trade safely. Be good. I'll see you on Monday.